Hello and welcome to News Central Television with me, Blessings Mosugu. The top stories at this hour. PDP NEC confirms Senator Anyanwu as National Secretary, ends leadership dispute. University Senior Staff Union threatens fresh industrial action over withheld salaries. UN warns that displacements caused by Sudan's conflict is worsening as food aid dries up. We've got the details in a moment. We begin with political stories. Nigeria's People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has officially reaffirmed Senator Samuel Anyanwu as its substantive national secretary after weeks of uncertainty and internal debate. The decision was made during the party's 100th National Executive Committee meeting held on Monday at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja. Speaking to reporters after the closed-door session, Acting National Chairman Ambassador Umar Ilia Demagum said the meeting had a single focus to assess the outcome of recent discussions with INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, regarding the leadership dispute. Demagum confirmed that the NEC unanimously resolved to retain Senator Anyanwu in his position, putting an end to weeks of speculation. He also announced that the party's much-anticipated national convention has been postponed and is now scheduled for the 23rd of July 2025. He assured party members that the rescheduled convention would fully comply with INEC guidelines, with formal notifications to be jointly signed by both himself and Senator Anyanwu. And in the meantime, former Senate President Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki has hailed the 100th National Executive Council meeting of the People's Democratic Party as a decisive and unifying moment for the opposition. Now, in a statement released on Monday evening, Saraki described the gathering held amid rising tensions within the party as a potential flashpoint that instead became a moment of reconciliation and renewed commitment to the PDP's core values. Saraki acknowledged that internal disagreements had threatened to divide the party, but credited PDP leaders with setting aside personal interests for the greater good. Now, as chair of the PDP Governors Forum National Reconciliation and Strategy Committee, Saraki commended those who, he said, sacrificed personal positions in the interest of peace and party stability. He emphasized that the outcome of the NEC meeting signals a stronger, more united PDP as the party looks ahead to key political milestones. We're still talking politics. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, has confirmed he will contest the 2027 presidential election. Obi added that he was willing to serve a single four-year term if elected. He made the declaration on Sunday night while speaking during a live session on X Spaces, where he answered questions from supporters both in Nigeria and abroad. In a statement released on Monday by his spokesman, Ibrahim Umar of the Labour Party Peter Obi Media Reach, Obi dismissed claims of a possible joint ticket with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. However, he admitted being open to coalition talks only if they focus on addressing Nigeria's core problems. Right now, Peter Ahmed, the former national chairman IPAC, joins me to speak more on Peter Obi's 2027 presidential declaration and related political developments. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. All right, so Peter, let me start by asking, what are the implications? Now, we know that Peter Obi has now officially declared that he will be running for the 2027 elections. What would you say are the implications of Peter Obi's early declaration to contest the presidential election come 2027 on Nigeria's political landscape?
The positive implication is that it will put the presidency on a panic mode, because they have been panicking all this while, doing whatever they would do to be able to, put up a narrative that Obi will not contest, and try to push it to another side. But the most important thing is that the coalition will also have the fact that you have a credible candidate, you have a candidate that has capacity, that is competent enough to run an effective government that will put Nigeria on the map of nations. Because Obi has actually, put himself forward to be able to represent the interest of a larger population that are supporting him based on his principles. And this support is basically driven organically. So it is not something that is forced or coerced into political system. Obi does not have a old archaic political entrenchment system. But what he has is a new breed of Nigerian youth and young people and old people who believe in the principle of trying to make sure that Nigeria work for the good of everybody. So Obi declaration is better for the coalition, because some of the roadblocks that would have hindered the coalition from not respecting the rotational arrangement that we have between the South and the North would have been that the fact that there's a Southern president right now. Why do you have to give to a Southern president to come and complete 8 years? He has openly on a national stage agreed that he's willing to do 1 term. That has put a cure to that obstacle. So it is now left for the coalition to look within themselves and do a proper thing and respect the zoning arrangement that exists between the North and the South, because people talk that the zoning arrangement is not written, but people have forgotten that unwritten laws also exist, because these are the reality of our country. Because you have a system where you bring presidency to the North, they'll say let it be a Muslim, and the South to go vice president will be a Christian. If you take presidency to the South, most times it's a Christian, and the North vice president. These were also not written. And you look at the level of implosion that we had in the country in the political space in 2023 because of the APC jettisoning that process and taking a Muslim ticket. So we have a candidate that have agreed to these terms, that is willing to honor this term. It's not just a candidate running for election. Obi has a proven track record. And one of the things that I tell people that don't know him, that have never related with him, is the fact that he has conquered greed. Because one of the problems with our politicians is the primitive acquisition of wealth, and this has led them to be able to mismanage public resources in a way that is not aligned to the interest of the people, in matchmaking that the interest of the people becomes the paramount purpose of governance.
Okay, so talking about track record, I am particularly concerned about, we have heard about politicians and how they would say anything before they get into power, and then once they get in power, it's a different ballgame entirely. Now, you say that Obi has proven himself. I mean, that it could be arguable by some persons. I mean, yes, there is a possibility that he has conquered greed, but there's always, more to achieve. There's always more to do, and this is the presidency. It's not governorship. So my question is, and I'm sure that I speak for a lot of Nigerians when I ask this, how might Obi's promise to serve only 1 term? First of all, do we think that that's viable? Do we think that anything can change when he gets into power? And then secondly, how do you think that this promise will influence voter sentiment and political strategy among other contenders?
I've said it. There's nobody who's going to put up the card of it. Obi's going to spend 8 years again. Obi has demolished that that narrative that has been created in some quarters. And 2, some people don't know, like I've told people should choose between candidates. I've run for president myself. I know the difficulty in trying to sell message and people accepting it as a message. I was only able to go get to the 2,000 votes in 2019. I'm telling you that if a large population of this country have seen what the kind of message Obi has been trying to put out and are relating to this message, it shows that there's hope for the common man. And to be clear with you about Obi just conquering greed and also honoring this process, Obi has clearly said that the future Nigerians and future, we must keep example, we must make example for them, so that when we say whatever we say, we must mean it, and whatever we mean, we must do it, so that this no longer hinder the relationship between the South and the North, so that we can now start to build an enduring relationship that is built on trust, that is built on ability for us to relate with ourselves without holding any impression. And the mistrust within our society is largely responsible for even all this rotational arrangement we have today. People talk about what we will be doing in 4 years. Let me tell you, Obi have taken from a private sector arrangement. Obi have taken a business from my level of inefficiency to competence and to first-class governance system. So Obi has all the credentials to be able to do what is right to make this country work. And that is the truth. And me, I've told people should choose example for their children. Why I've chosen Obi as somebody that will be a mentor and a model to the kind of character I want my children to be is because I've related with him and I know he's very principled, he's very disciplined, and he's committed in creating a system that works, a system that will be able to put Nigeria on the map. The 4 years that Obi will spend, Obi will use to create channel and cut the cost of governance to a minimum and bearable level, that our cost of our concurrent expenditure, our expenditure should not be more than the capital expenditure. So we will not have a recurrent expenditure that is running over 100%, where capital expenditure is running 25% as is done under Tinubu arrangement. So I believe in his ability to align public resources for public use. What we have today is a mismatch allocation of public resources that does not generate the best interest. When people use more of our money to commission projects, more of the resources to travel abroad, Obi will never buy a private jet. He will rather put that money into the educational sector so that more children can go to school. He will never buy a Cadillac where there are vehicles so that more children can go to school. He will put that in public sector. What he wants to do is to establish a foundation that the lives of our people and the community at large will have a benefit and future to lie on. People talk about saving money. Is a man who sat as governor. They say, no, you should have used the money to do this. When you save money, you create an opportunity for a credit-based economy for the state, and you create a system that you have a generational wealth that is built in the opportunity for the state to be able to develop faster than it is. And that's why you're able to attract foreign direct investment that will help the community and help the state to prosper. So these are the examples he has given when education was at number 26 or so in the country. Obi brought it to number 1 before leaving office. These are very firm decisions. They are not something you do arrogantly. People must not talk with power the way I talk. But he's a very firm person that believes in processes that is result-oriented, that will create an opportunity, larger opportunity for the large majority of the people, not an elitist-based governance that only tend to benefit the micro few who are in government, who are in the larger minority of the context of what we call Nigeria as a country. So for us to make it work, why I believe that Obi can do this is because I've seen his results. I've seen what he does in his private life, private business, and I has been able to sustain discipline within corporations and within people. We that are close to him, I know the kind of teachings he gives. He's a kind of person that want to mentor you in the direction that you must be able to be productive. Look, Nigeria can't grow if there's no job created, and government cannot be the only one creating jobs. And that has been the Obi message. For you to create proper job for this country, you must be able to have a productive sector that is driven by market competitiveness. And that is when you create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, to create a system where the function of the Constitution as a shrine that says that welfare and security of the people should be paramount. It should be the most important aspect of governance. That is not what we have today.
Peter, I'm a former national chairman, IPAC. Thank you so much for joining us. And I see the passion with which you speak. But, I mean, we can only speculate or, look out to see what happens come 2027. Thank you once again for joining us. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives Ad hoc Committee on the Rivers State Emergency Rule has issued a 48-hour ultimatum to the state administrator to justify the proposed spending of 24 billion naira for CCTV installations and 30 billion naira for the purchase of gunboats, among other items. Chairman of the committee, Julius Ihobure, alongside other lawmakers, raised concerns over the budget proposal during a defense session held in Abuja. Ihobure noted that the committee had thoroughly reviewed the budget as presented by the sole administrator and observed questionable allocations of state funds to existing federal projects without formal agreements with the federal government. Responding, the Senior Special Assistant to the Sole Administrator on Strategy and Policy, Andrew Nwekwe, explained that the administration inherited many of the items in the current budget.
We see a total of 264 billion naira just for State House. There are some worrisome components in that allocation. For example, what is the justification for 30 billion naira allocation for gunboats?
The environment is generally a maritime environment, and there's a need to support the efforts of the federal government to aid the services and the work that the security agencies are doing over the years. And that is why we have this provision that we have there, with respect to the provision for gunboats specifically.
The question of 30 billion for gunboats and 25 billion for contingency. We know Rivers State has its own peculiarities, but we need additional details for those allocations. For the appearance. And like I said, the documents we want within 48 hours. So give them 48 hours, that is fine. If you can make it 24 hours, since these are not particularly complicated documents, that will be fine.
Let's turn our attention to development in River State politics, where the recent reconciliation between FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and suspended Governor Simeola Fubara is being welcomed by many. For one women's group, it's the answer to months of fervent prayers. News Central's Biola Festus completes the report.
The declaration of emergency rule in Rivers State on 18 March had brought governance to a halt, triggering concerns among political stakeholders, civil society groups, and the public. But the announcement of a reconciliation deal between the suspended governor and the FCT minister has sparked fresh hope for political stability.
All agreed to work together with the governor, and the governor also agreed to work together with all of us.
With the help of Mr. President and the agreement of the leaders of the states, including our leader, peace has returned.
The Rivers Women Unite for SIM, a vocal pro-Fubara group, says the Peace Pact is an answer to months of prayers. They've been at the forefront of calls for dialogue and the reinstatement of the suspended executive and legislative arms of government.
Women come here from the markets from all over. Nobody's giving them anything, and we are praying every week. What are we praying for? Lord, we want peace in River State. We want reconciliation. We want restoration. We want the reinstatement of our amiable governor who has done so well within the short period he stayed.
Many residents had resigned themselves to the realities of emergency rule, but the persistence of these women is now being hailed as key factor to pushing political actors back to the negotiation table.
Look at what is happening today. The governor is out, made peace with the minister has made peace with the governor, and both of them are together again like the way they were in the beginning.
They are now calling on President Bola Tinubu to lift the suspension and fully restore democratic institutions in the state.
We return every thanks to God Almighty for granting us peace, for bringing reconciliation, for bringing restoration, for returning our lost glory and the lost peace of River State. And then we thank our dear President, FCT Minister. We thank our dear Governor, Assembly members for agreeing to this peace.
Until I hear with these my 2 years that suspension has been lifted, as unconstitutional as it is, that unconstitutional act, they apologize for it, and therefore it's been lifted, and the state is put back in the hands of a Rivers man to run.
With both parties pledging to give peace a chance, all eyes are on the presidency to make the next move. In Rivers, for News Central, Biola Festus.
That was a report brought to us from River State by Biola Festus on a peace pact in the state. It's time now to go on our first break. You're live with us on News Deal. When we come back, we've got more stories. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us in the news. Now, as part of activities marking the 2025 Nigerian Army Day celebration, the Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oluyede, has restated the Army's resolve to defeat terrorism and protect the sovereignty of the nation. Now, at a special interdenominational church service in Abuja, General Oluyede declared that the threats posed by terrorists and other enemies of a state are meaningless and bound to fail. The service, held to reflect on the sacrifices of officers and men of the Nigerian Army, provided a moment for the Army chief to warn enemies of a state that their defeat is inevitable. He He affirmed the Army's commitment to multi-agency collaboration in securing the nation and paid tribute to fallen heroes and their families.
We shall never depart from our honor, which is tied to our faith, and we will continue to live true to the Nigerian Army motto, which is victory is from God alone. To all those who seek to disrupt the sanctity of our freedom, our heritage of liberty, and our enduring democracy, be assured that your failure is certain and your boast lacks value. The Nigerian Army will continue to collaborate with all stakeholders to foster a joint and multi-agency environment to effectively deliver our mandate of securing our beloved nation.
So as we celebrate this year's Nigerian Day celebration 2025, let us not just look back with gratitude, but look forward with purpose. The soldier's first concept is not just a strategy. It is a spiritual mandate, a call to honor those who defend our peace by ensuring their life, their welfare, loyalty, and transformation. Let every commander lead with conviction. Every commander stand here, let him lead with conviction. Let every soldier serve with honor.
Now, elders and stakeholders in the southern part of Kaduna State have called on the Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani to repeal the State Traditional Institution Law 2021, which was signed into law by the immediate past governor of the state, Nasir El-Rufai, and allegedly discriminates traditional institutions which have been in existence for centuries. The law, which led to the creation of emirates in Christian-dominated communities, replacing the titles of paramount traditional rulers to emirs, has continued to spark public outcry by residents in the affected communities. In an exclusive interview with News Central Television, some leaders from some of the affected communities dismissed the claims by the former governor of the state, alleging that the affected communities requested for the law. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu tells us more in this report.
The conversation has taken center stage in the last 4 years, including a suit challenging the decision of the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, bordering on the change in designation of local chiefs and their chiefdoms, mainly from the southern part of Kaduna State. Also in the conversation is the former Director General of the National Human Rights Commission, Chidi Odinkalu, who claimed the ex-governor persecuted Christians by signing the law which he said balkanized their traditional institutions. Reacting to this, the media aide to ex-governor El-Rufai, Muyiwa Adekiye, had recently accused human rights lawyer Chidi Odinkalu, accusing him of lying and misleading the public over the actions of the former governor. In a swift reaction, leaders from the southern Kaduna extraction countered Adekiye and used the opportunity to appeal to the current governor of the state to repeal the law and review several policies of the former governor, which they say are non-inclusive and discriminatory.
The chief bears the name of his ethnic group. It is historical. That is something that has evolved based on our traditions, our customs, our laws, and the ways of doing things, our governance processes, our traditional governance processes. You understand? So El-Rufai said, no, we must be like Hausa or Fulani chiefs.
No, he didn't do it for political gain. He did it out of the insidious hate that he has for the people of Southern Kaduna. He wanted to humiliate them. He wanted to push the influence and the powers of the settler Hausa and Fulani communities in Southern Kaduna.
Some of them say the move was not only criticized by the residents in the affected communities, but also across the nation. They say the governor's action was condemnable and a display of ethnic bigotry.
They have Emir of Kano. We must have Ogwam Kaguru. The Kaguru people protested so vigorously. He had to change it back to Ogwamagoro. Okay? Look at what happened in Kafancha. Ogwam Fontwang. He named it Ogwam the Park. We have rejected it. We, the community development associations, have rejected it. The communities of Southern Kaduna have rejected it. The village head of the park.
Zwahu Bonat is a popular historian, researcher, and an expert on the history of Nigeria's Middle Belt region. He believes that actions like this can erase cultures and the way of life of ethnic groups if left unreversed.
So, we have a balance of power. The government traditional council, if they do the wrong thing, the council of leaders will say no, it is contrary to our traditions, it is contrary to our morals, it is contrary to our customs, it is not in the interest of the nation. But that was what El-Rufai came to trample upon, to show us he had the power to do it. And then to go around and tell lies that we asked him to do it. We never did.
Bonat maintains that this action is responsible for the current violence within some parts of the country where different groups have been pitched against each other.
And when they say Fulani militias are attacking our people, they will say it is ethnic profiling. Who is profiling who?
El-Rufai divided this state more than any other ruler since the independence of Nigeria. We have never had any governor that came with a very dark and gloomy agenda in which most of his energy was expended in dealing with Southern Kaduna.
All attempts to reach the aid of the former governor, Muyiwa Adeke, has been unsuccessful. While the leaders of Southern Kaduna say that they are in court on the matter, they hope that the current governor will put an end to it once and for all. In Kaduna for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudi.
And our industry leaders, policymakers, regulators and energy experts from across the globe have converged on Abuja for the 24th edition of the Nigeria Oil and Gas Energy Week Conference, a pivotal gathering focused on charting a sustainable path towards Nigeria's energy future. News Central's correspondent Aisha Saliu was at the conference and has the details.
Themed Accelerating Global Energy Progress Through Investment, Partnerships and Innovation, the conference brings together energy key players discussing long-term energy security, economic sustainability and solutions through local content implementation.
The more we are able to bring the supply chain close to area of operation, the more we are able to ensure that there is predictability and also cost assurance in terms of being efficient, making sure that you're able to produce quality goods close to your operating environment.
If we must achieve energy security, we must go beyond oil. Gas is a commodity in its own right. And we are in an era that has been declared the decade of gas.
We need capacity building, and I did my recent recruitment efforts highlighted a significant gap in the skill set in the industry.
Panel discussions spawned topics such as deepening community participation, impact of NOGICD Act on the ease of doing business and cost competitiveness, adoption of technology to domestication, among others. One core issue echoed throughout: energy resource maximization, overlapping issues within regulatory agencies, and the need for sustainable development for the future of energy.
Prior to now, we didn't have funds in the scheme, but now we're introducing the financial institutions who, like I earlier said, they have the penetration, they have the reach, to these community contractors. So for a community contractor who has to apply for this fund, unlike before now, when it was centralized in the industry, they would have to travel all the way from their community. A community contractor in Bayelsa, for instance, would have to travel all the way to Lagos to make an application.
But with this presence, we'll be able to minimize this illegal operation, whereby it helps to clean the environment because the waterway is not polluted again. Even the vegetations around the pipeline, I wish I have time to show you. We have our videos. You see how the pipeline right of way was, and now how it is now. You see the trees are coming back again.
At the end of the deliberations, it is believed Nigeria's energy transition will require not just capital and expertise, but also unity of purpose and visionary leadership, setting a renewed tone for collaborative reform, as stakeholders are hopeful that this will translate into tangible improvements on the ground. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Now, it's a global reminder of the vital role that small businesses play in driving economic growth and innovation. In Abuja, the United Nations in Nigeria brought together its agencies, partners, and entrepreneurs to mark the 2025 International Micro, Small, and Medium-Sized Enterprises Day. This year's theme, enhancing the role of MSMEs as drivers of sustainable growth and innovation, highlights the sector's critical role in meeting development targets. News Central's Sumaya Abubakar has more.
Entrepreneurs, policymakers, development partners, and innovators gathered to celebrate progress, reflect on ongoing challenges, and share ideas on how to strengthen the MSME ecosystem in Nigeria. The event featured a high-level dialogue, networking sessions, and a vibrant exhibition showcasing homegrown products and services.
In a country like Nigeria, where we have the problem of unemployment and the teeming youth, so we are taking MSMEs very, very important.
MSMEs require coherent ecosystems built on enabling regulation, access to affordable finance, integrated value chains, and digital infrastructure that opens markets rather than limits them.
MSME Day 2025 is not just a calendar event, it is a global call to action. Here in Abuja, the United Nations and its partners are using this occasion to spotlight the vital role of small businesses in tackling poverty, driving innovation, and shaping a more sustainable future.
From handmade crafts to sustainable solutions, the exhibition spotlighted how small businesses are tackling real-world challenges with creativity and resilience.
SMEs, we try to strive even when things are not well, but we try because we are passionate about it. We want to add value to the country, not just taking our raw materials out of the country, they process it and bring it back. But we know we are producing our own.
It gives us a sense of belonging, that the country recognizes us, that we are playing a very integral part in the economy. So the feeling is good.
As Nigeria continues its push for economic diversification and job creation, organizers say MSME Day serves as a powerful reminder of the sector's central role in achieving the sustainable development goals. In Abuja, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
Now, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, is threatening fresh industrial action over the federal government's failure to release 2 months' withheld salaries for members who joined the 2022 strike. Now, at its 51st National Executive Council meeting in Kano, the union also condemned delays in salary payments to university staff and called for immediate harmonization of salary disbursements across all federal and state institutions. SANU expressed disappointment over the stalled renegotiation of the 2009 agreement with the government and criticized the unjust allocation of earned allowances, demanding redress. The union warned that continued neglect of agreements could trigger further action, urging the government to address these concerns to avert another crisis in the university system. Coming up on the news, hundreds arrested in Kenya after deadly nationwide protest. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. Now, tensions remain high in Kenya after a wave of violent protests swept across the country last week. Authorities now say 485 people have been arrested, facing charges including murder, terrorism, rape, and destruction of property following nationwide demonstrations that turned deadly. Now, what began as a peaceful rally to mark the anniversary of last year's anti-tax protests quickly descended into chaos. In Nairobi's central business district, angry crowds clashed with police, looted shops, and left a trail of destruction across the capital. The Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights reports that at least 19 people were killed and over 500 injured, many of them suffering gunshot wounds. Kenya's Interior Secretary has labeled the unrest an attempted coup, while the United Nations has condemned the bloodshed, urging calm and restraint from all sides.
On Wednesday, June 2025,
Kenya witnessed demonstrations dubbed Gen Z anniversary protests. While some citizens turned out peacefully to exercise their constitutional rights to assemble and express dissent, a well-coordinated network of criminal actors infiltrated and hijacked these demonstrations. Criminals came out with the sole intention to cause chaos, loot, destroy lives and property, with a clear, coordinated agenda to forcibly enter lawfully protected areas and destroy government installations. We acknowledge with deep sorrow that these events resulted into the loss of innocent lives. Law enforcement officers suffered significant harm while protecting genuine protesters, property, and maintaining law and order, with at least 11 officers sustaining serious injuries, some life-threatening.
And now in East Africa, United Nations World Food Programme has warned that millions of people displaced by the war in Sudan are at risk of plunging even deeper into crisis as international food aid begins to run dry. Since fighting erupted in April 2023 between Sudan's military and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the conflict has triggered the world's largest displacement crisis. More than 10 million people have been forced from their homes within Sudan, while an additional 4 million have fled across borders, many seeking refuge in Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan. Despite the scale of the crisis, the UN says its humanitarian response plan, which also addresses what it calls the world's largest hunger emergency, is just 14.4% funded. The World Food Programme is now warned that life-saving support for Sudanese refugees in countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, Libya, and the Central African Republic may soon grind to a halt. In Southern Africa, we now bring you a story that highlights the harsh realities faced by many children caught in the cycle of poverty and social hardships. Behind the bright lights and bustling streets of Johannesburg, innocent childhoods are being stolen by circumstances beyond their control. News Central's Bongani Ziba takes us to the streets of Johannesburg, where children are in the shadows of exploitation.
In the heart of Johannesburg, forgotten corners, behind crumbling walls and dark corridors, live children whose childhood have been stolen by poverty. This is a reality, a life marked by struggle, hardships, and loss of innocence. Meet Dylan and Darren, two boys from Zimbabwe. Their mother came to South Africa seeking for a better life, but instead she found herself trapped in a cycle of struggles alongside countless women fighting for survival. Every morning, their mother wakes up, taking them to busy street corners to beg, a daily routine and harsh reality that has robbed them of their rights, childhood, and education.
Every day I bring them here so that I can get food, I can get clothes for them to wear. That's what I'm getting every day, my sister. Even per day I can get even 20 rand.
These busy streets corners have become a painful reality for children that have lost their childhood, stolen, forced to beg, their innocence replaced with demands for coins and food.
Every child has a right to learn, to grow, and to be protected, yet many of these kids are denied access to schools, their future exploited for immediate survival.
Tinouya parobot tinoshupika, tinouya parobot tichikumbira mama wana mari, isusu hatiendi kuchikoro, tinongogara tiri panapa parobot tichikumbira mari, vamwe vanoenda kuchikoro ine handiendi kuchikoro, zvinondirwadza kuti ndisingaendi kuchikoro.
Their story is just one among many children alike. It's a heartbreaking reality that needs urgent attention.
I don't like to come here to beg because my age mates are going to school and and I don't go to school, and it hurts me so badly. And I'm looking for someone who could like to help me, to take me to school and give me a better education and buy for me food and get us a better shelter, because if I beg today and I don't get food, I will never eat today.
The presence of foreign women and children in these begging activities raises questions about wider social and economic issues, including poverty, lack of access to social services, and immigration challenges.
As social workers, there's nothing much that we can do. Remember, we cannot go to them, tell them that we want to help them. If somebody doesn't come to us asking for help, we cannot help them. They first have to take the initiative to say they want to be helped. Do you understand? Then that's when we can help them.
Behind every child at these traffic lights is a story of hope, loss, and resilience. But their childhood shouldn't be spent chasing coins. They deserve the chance to just be kids. Their hope for a better future remains distant, highlighting the urgent need for social support, education access, and policies that protects the rights of children regardless of their background.
Today, I am here begging on the streets just like a street kid, and I don't like it because it hurts me so much.
Beyond immediate hardship, these children face a future limited by loss of opportunities, poor health, and trauma of exploitation. They need a world that can stand up for their rights to ensure that they are free to learn, to dream, and enjoy a childhood, because no child should grow up in the shadows of exploitation. In South Africa, Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
And now, still to come on the news, death toll climbs to 35 in Telangana chemical explosion. We have the details of this and more after the break. Join us again. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, excavators worked overnight to clear debris from a chemical factory in Sangareddy, Telangana, following a massive explosion that killed at least 35 people. The blast, which occurred on Monday, destroyed much of the building, scattering rubble across the site and trapping workers inside. Emergency crews, including fire and disaster response teams, have been deployed to assist with the search and recovery efforts. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the explosion, which is believed to have originated during routine operations. The factory was known for producing various industrial chemicals. The state government has promised support for the victims' families, while safety protocols are at similar facilities across the region are being reviewed in the aftermath of the tragedy. And to business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC Limited, is reporting 6.008 trillion naira in revenue for May 2025, slightly up from April's 5.972 trillion naira, according to its latest monthly report. It has a profit after tax surge of 14% to 1.054 trillion naira compared to 926 billion naira in April. Crude oil and condensate production also edged higher to 1.63 million barrels per day in May, up from 1.61 million barrels per day in April, with peak output reaching 1.72 million barrels per day. The figures reflect a steady recovery in production and earnings momentum for Nigeria's state oil firm. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. Now, we told you PDP NEC confirms Senator Ayawu as National Secretary, ends a leadership dispute. We also mentioned University Senior Staff Union threatens fresh industrial action over withheld salaries. And finally, we told you that the United Nations has warned that displacements caused by Sudan's conflict is worsening as food aid dries up. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Also, do also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Osuka.